You ever visit a farm as a kid?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of times.
It's kind of wild, right? Like that whole world. It's so different.
Totally. It's like a completely different way of life.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole inheritance tax thing in the UK so fascinating, I think.
Really is. Big implications.
So today we're going deep on this article, the impact of inheritance tax on UK farmers. And honestly, it's got me a little worried.
It's definitely a complex issue.
Yeah, I mean, these farms, they're not just businesses. It's legacy stuff, you know, generations.
Absolutely. Centuries of history, often tied up in those farms.
Right. And the government's considering scrapping these two tax breaks, agricultural property relief and
Business property relief.
business property relief, yeah. And those have been huge for farmers, especially when passing down the farm.
Huge, because, I mean, think about it. A farm, that's not exactly something you can just liquidate easily if you get hit with a massive tax bill.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You can't just suddenly sell off half your land to pay the tax man.
And that's the problem. Without those reliefs, inheriting a farm could become like this huge financial burden.
Exactly. And the article, it throws out this number, over 70,000 farms could be at risk.
It's a staggering number. And it's not just about the numbers either. It's about people's livelihoods, whole communities.
It's families.
Yeah.
It's people whose roots are literally planted in that soil.
Precisely. It's about a way of life.
So, okay, we've got all these farms potentially going up for sale, right? What happens then? Who buys them?
Well, that's a major concern. The article suggests that a lot of this land might not stay in the hands of UK farmers at all.
Really?
Yeah, we could see a rise in foreign ownership or developers swooping in to turn farmland into housing or industrial zones.
So basically less food being produced in the UK.
Potentially, yes.
And that means, what? Higher prices at the grocery store.
It's a real possibility. And not just higher prices, but less choice, too. Imagine your favorite British cheese suddenly costing twice as much, or struggling to find good, locally grown produce.
Ugh, that's a nightmare.
Uh,
I love British cheese.
It would be a significant shift.
Okay, so we've talked about the economics, but this also has to be just a devastating emotional blow to these farming families.
Absolutely. Imagine having to choose between taking on massive loans to pay inheritance tax.
Or selling off land that's been in your family for generations.
Heartbreaking. It's like selling off a piece of your family history.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about what we stand to lose if these small family-run farms disappear.
There's a ripple effect, isn't there?
It's more than just food.
Exactly. The article highlights some major concerns, like what happens to the environment? Family farms, they often play a big role in maintaining biodiversity.
We take care of the land in a way that big developers probably wouldn't.
Exactly. And then there's the cultural aspect, too. Family farms are part of the fabric of British society. Losing them would be like losing a part of the nation's identity.
Absolutely. But the article also mentions that, like, this isn't a done deal, right?
Yeah, right. These proposed changes, they're still being debated. And there's a lot of pushback from farmers and those who support them. They're actively lobbying the government, looking for alternative solutions.
So there's still hope.
There's always hope.
Well, this has definitely been a thought-provoking deep dive. I mean, even if you're not a farmer, even if you live outside the UK, this whole issue raises some big questions.
It does. Questions about where our food comes from, about the value we place on tradition, on our connection to the land.
Big stuff to think about.
Mm?
And we'll definitely be keeping an eye on how this story unfolds.
Definitely. Lots more to come, I'm sure.
So, as always, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah.
And next time you're at the grocery store, maybe take a moment to appreciate where your food comes from. You never know how long we'll have that luxury.
Well said.
Until next time.